After the nerve-wracking PlayStation 2 launch spectacle, I was never taking another chance with my launches again. They were fun, certainly, but the PS2 launch would have done well to be a little less exciting. When the Game Boy Advance finally came within view the following year, I played it all by the book. I pre-ordered the system the first day I could, got my launch games picked out, and kicked back. My excitement for the system wasn't necessarily rooted in any specific games, but considering its well-deserved reputation as a little Super NES, I knew it'd be one to buy for sure. My GBA anticipation preceded any actual launch game announcements, to be perfectly honest. Be that as it may, I was thrilled when Nintendo came through with their launch list, which included F-Zero Maximum Velocity, a proper sequel to 1991 classic racer F-Zero to go alongside Konami's revisitation to a winning formula in Castlevania Circle of the Moon. Really, that was all the reason I would have ever needed to own a GBA. This was a pure no-frills launch when stacked up against the PlayStation 2 party from several months prior. No games beat the system to store shelves except the ones for the import gamers who had it easy with the GBA from the start. There was a fair degree of hype, but thankfully the launch lineup only seemed to appeal to A, the more dedicated gamers, and B, kids who wouldn't be able to afford the system right away. That all made for smooth sailing. A little too smooth, perhaps. The Game Boy Advance launch was so low-key and left so little an impression on me that I honestly can't remember exactly what day it was anymore. And I should have known it was going to go low tier from the start. There was no early opening time for KB Toys, no price gouging, no one was even around when I got there, and when the store finally opened, the systems hadn't arrived yet. It was a system launch day, and the Game Boy Advance units themselves were going to come in via drop shipment. What the hell? By the time the drop shipment arrived, myself and one other guy had been waiting in the store for a good 2 hours, and I'm being kind of conservative with that estimation, it might have easily been closer to 3. I wasted no time in taking a Glacier GBA for lack of any other options, along with Castlevania Circle of the Moon and Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. F-Zero Maximum Velocity was not included in Nintendo's shipment to this particular KB location, but looking around town for a copy of that would be easy later on anyway. After a stop at Fun Unlimited to take some time to check out my games, I finally headed out toward the bus stop. While waiting, a group of kids spotted me playing Tony Hawk. Lovely. I never want to see another summer launch again. You got Game Boy Extreme? Advance, and yes, it came out today. Can I play? No. I mean it. Never again. I either want the kids to be sleeping through a midnight launch or at school in their classrooms whenever I'm taking a system home from the store. Not out in the open where they actually stand a chance of making direct physical contact with whatever system I happen to be buying that day. Thankfully, I managed to dodge the kids and get on the bus before they could try grabbing for it. They seemed the type, and I would have simply lost it right there in the mall parking lot. It wasn't until I was on the bus that I realized that Tony Hawk 2 was partially 3D, which I didn't think was even possible for a little Super NES. I couldn't help but be surprised at what a powerhouse the GBA actually was, but disappointment awaited me when I got home. You see, up to that point, I'd been playing the GBA either outside on an annoyingly bright summer day, or in a well-lit shopping mall. The transition to my house, which I openly admit had poor lighting, was jarring at the very least, and after spending about an hour trying to find a comfortable way to play Castlevania, I finally gave up and fired the PS2 up for some Tekken Tag. Oh well, they can't all be winners, and at least the GBA SP would eventually arrive to provide backlighting and make Circle of the Moon visible to realize its status as one of the best games on the platform. Yes, I know I had very little to say on this launch, especially compared to the PS2 recap. I just want to make sure everyone keeps in mind that I'm going over a lot of launches, and there will be some discrepancies in both the quality of the experience and in noteworthy anecdotes therein. The GBA launch was the epitome of dull, and more than a little irritating. The next video will be another downer, unfortunately, before things pick back up, but it should also be an important one for anyone who has yet to experience their first launch. It pays to be well aware of the risks, after all, and the Xbox launch on November 15th, 2001 was a textbook example of a potential worst-case scenario that can play out on just about any launch. And that's all for now. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Help the channel out. I'm Patrick Mifflin, sounding off.